Let's start today's newspaper discussion. We'll have today's newspaper discussion. Make lynching a separate offence. Supreme Court tells Parliament. Make lynching a separate offence. Supreme Court tells Parliament. As you all know, in the recent past, lynchings have become a rhetoric, a regular thing. Lynching means L-Y-N-C-H-I-N-G. Lynching means attacking and killing a person. A mob attacking and killing a person generally. It's called lynching. Based on some communalism, based on some small issues, killing a human being. Mob attacking and killing a human being is called lynching. Lynchings are nothing but horrendous acts of mobocracy. Horrendous. Horrendous. Lynchings are nothing but horrendous acts of mobocracy. Horrendous means very bad, terrible, which are not expected. Horrendous acts of mobocracy. Lynchings are nothing but horrendous acts of mobocracy. Indian population lost tolerance. Do we lost the tolerance to sustain our diverse culture? We have various cultures, like various languages, various religions. Tolerance towards each other is very important. Have we lost it? Is the question. Have we lost it? Have we lost the tolerance to sustain diverse culture? Have we lost the tolerance to sustain diverse culture? Is a big question. And when this is going on, there is a word called litany. L-I-T-A-N-Y. Attacking repeatedly. Repetition anamata. Litany. L-I-T-A-N-Y. Here, apathy of bystanders. Yesterday in editorial I told you a word called malfeasance. Doing harm with a bad intention. Malfeasance means doing bad things with a bad intention. Doing with a bad intention. Malfeasance. Doing an action with a bad intention. Here you have a word called apathy. A-P-A-T-H-Y. Apathy means indifference, inaction. అంటే తటస్థంగా ఉంటాం. ఒక అన్యాయం జరుగుతున్న క్వశ్చన్ చేయకపోవటం. It is being indifferent, inaction. Indifferent, inaction. Not questioning the wrong things. Not questioning the wrong things. Apathy of bystanders. There are three words which are very important in ethics, in your ethics subject. Apathy, empathy, sympathy. A-P-A-T-H-Y, apathy. E-M-P-A-T-H-Y, empathy. S-Y-M-P-A-T-H-Y, sympathy. Kindly read these three words. Apathy, empathy and sympathy. Kindly read these three words. Okay. Numbness of mute spectators. Numbness of mute spectators. Inertia of police. Inertia means they won't move unless somebody forces them. Inertia means they won't move unless somebody forces them. So all these things. Beware of monster. Lynching is nothing but a monster. Beware of monster. This is the content. Supreme Court tells the Parliament to make a lynching a separate offence. Supreme Court tells Parliament to make lynching a separate offence. Trump faces fire for Putin summit. Donald Trump faces fire for Putin summit. 2 days back in Finland capital Helsinki, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin met. And Trump told Putin told that he has not involved in meddling of American presidential election. See, as Russian president, I am not involved, and Russia is not involved in American presidential elections. The same thing was repeated by Trump. Now Trump have given some important news that Trump is not trusting American security agencies and he started trusting Russia. He is not trusting American security agencies, but he started trusting Russia. So American experts, political analysts and security experts got angry on Trump. They got angry on Trump. This was what has happened in the article. Remember this. Thrissur in Kerala. Thrissur in Kerala. There was an annual festival called Anayottu. Anayottu. There was an annual festival called Anayottu. Anayottu is nothing but feeding the elephants. Feeding the elephants. Ayurvedic food almost. Anayottu is nothing but feeding the elephants. Remember. Next important article. RTI bill to be placed in the monsoon session. RTI bill to be placed in the monsoon session. The present government wanted to amend RTI Act, Right to Information Act. Yesterday I told you. The present government wanted to amend RTI Act, the Right to Information Act. And secretly they proposed amendments, cabinet cleared. Yesterday it was distributed among the parliamentarians. The draft bill was given to the parliamentarians. So some of the terms of the draft bill have come out. Actually, the Central Information Commission and State Information Commissions, their salary and tenures will be in accordance with the election commissioner and state level election commissioners. So they have equated election commission with information commission in giving salaries and tenure. In giving salary and tenure. Now the central government says, now the new bill says, election commission is a constitution body. Information commission is a statutory body. How can you equate election commission with information commission? Second thing, the tenure of information commissioner is 5 years in the earlier act. Now it is saying the tenure will depend on the central government, and even the appointment and tenures of the state information commissioners, salaries will be decided by the central government. So information commissioners will be in the hands of central government now. Their autonomy will be lost. Right to information is a backbone of democracy and it promotes accountability and transparency. But if the necessary changes are made, the impended changes are made in the bill, then what will happen? The bill will, the ITI Act will be diluted. Center will have a more hold and more say. Center will have a more hold over information commissioners. So their autonomy will be lost. This is the problem in the recent bill. But the issue is, the bill will be introduced in Lok Sabha and it should be approved by, it should be passed in Rajya Sabha also. It should be passed in Rajya Sabha also. Even today, the BJP government have no sufficient majority in Rajya Sabha. So the bill may receive flack in Rajya Sabha. The bill may receive criticism in Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabhalo బిల్లుకి విమర్శలు ఎదురవ్వచ్చు. The bill might receive criticism in Rajya Sabha. Remember. No details were furnished to the common man about new RTI amendment bill. No details were furnished to the common man. At present, the pay and perks, as well as terms and conditions of service of Central Information Commissioner is on par with Central Election Commissioner, and Information Commissioners on par with Election Commissioners. In the new bill says the functions of the mandate of job of Election Commissioner and Information Commissioner are different. So their salaries and their issues should be treated differently. They should be rationalized accordingly. They should be treated differently and they should be rationalized accordingly. The proposed amendment says the term 5 years, the idea of the term 5 years should be taken out. The tenure should be dependent on the central government as may be prescribed by the central government. the 5 years term of the information commissioners will be wiped out, and as a term prescribed by the central government, this new word will be added, and salary and status will also be prescribed by the central government. Salary and status will also be prescribed by the central government. This will take away the autonomy of the information commission. This is a criticism. The salary, tenure, conditions of service, all these things will be decided by the central government. Then automatically their autonomy will be lost. This is the story of information commissioner. RTI amendment. This is a story with related to RTI amendment. Next. Coming to editorial page. Okay, inflation worries. Inflation worries. WORRIES. Yesterday there is a news. Wholesale price index. WPI hit all-time high. After 54 months, it hit 5.7%. 5.7%. Wholesale price index after 4 years, it again rises to 5.7%. Here the question. See, Monetary Policy Committee, RBI, to fix the monetary policy is now presently following consumer price index, not wholesale price index. It is now presently following consumer price index, not wholesale price index. But wholesale price index is an index for overall strength of the economy and overall price levels, and it indirectly shows the long term effect on CPI also. It is not that wholesale price index is not important, though we take consumer price index, but wholesale price index actually affects the macro level economy. It actually affects the macro level economy, and rising oil prices also had a big hit over wholesale price index. Rising oil prices. Inflation means rising prices. In a common man's language, inflation means constant rise of prices is called inflation. The increase in the WPI headline might not appear extremely relevant from a policy perspective. Right now we may not think it is extremely relevant, but it is really relevant. The rise in WPI inflation, however, highlights the pressure on prices in the economy. The rise in WPI index highlights the pressure of prices on the economy and indicates a further rise in consumer inflation. It might induct the consumer prices, increase the CPI also. It will put the pressure on the economy. Wholesale price index increase will put the pressure on economy, and also consumer price index may also increase. Then what is the difference between WPI and CPI? Wholesale price index and consumer price index. While both the baskets measure inflationary trends within the broader economy, WPI sees inflation, CPI also sees inflation. The two indexes differ sharply while giving weightage to food, fuel and manufacturing items. So, though both are measuring inflation, wholesale price index measures inflation and consumer price index measures inflation, but the weightage they give to various indices like food, fuel, manufactured goods, they differ. For example, wholesale price index gives 24% weightage to food, whereas consumer price index gives 46% weightage to food. Wholesale price index gives 24% weightage to food, whereas consumer price index gives 46% weightage to food. So, that is the difference between wholesale price index and consumer price index. See, weightages in the wholesale price index, weightages in the consumer price index different, and wholesale price index will not take about services, it won't deal with services. Consumer price index also takes the consideration of services. Wholesale inflation track year on year inflation at the producer level, at the factory level, factory gate. They will see the price rise in the factory gate or the producer level, and is a marker for price movements in the purchase of bulk inputs by the traders. Bulk inputs, it is factory gate rate, the rise in the factory gate rates. In the production level, the rise in the factory gate. In the bulk purchases, is called wholesale price. Consumer price index on the other hand captures changes in the price levels at the shop, in the shop end. Directly it affects the consumer. And consumer price index is now taken for checking the monetary policy, but wholesale price affects consumer price, indirectly affects the consumer price. And wholesale price index right now have increased. It may long term affect the economy, it may affect the economy in the long term. Though we take consumer price index as a proper index, wholesale price index shows, see, as I told you, for consumer price food is more important, for wholesale food is less important. For consumer price services are more important, for wholesale price they don't consider services. Wholesale price is at the factory gate, consumer price is at the shops. This is the basic difference between wholesale price index and consumer price index. Understand this much. Your economy sir will come and teach in detail. This much is important for you at this time. Wholesale price index and consumer price index. Next article, comeback man. Comeback man. This is about Novak Djokovic. Great champions can never be written off. As Djokovic have demonstrated in the Wimbledon. గొప్ప వాళ్ళు ఎప్పుడు లేట్ అయినా సరే మళ్ళీ పైకి తిరిగి లెగుస్తారంట. Great champions can never be written off. Think that whether you are a great champion or not. Great champions will never leave the challenge. They will never accept the defeat. They will keep on working in their life. Remember this. Great champions can never be written off. So the Serbian champion Novak Djokovic won the Wimbledon after 2 years. And generally in sports, if you are not in the limelight for 6 months or 1 year, you will be written off, because sports is so cruel, the domain of sports. But you can never write off. The example I can find in Michael Phelps, Roger Federer. They are really Tiger Woods. Really they will come back. They will again come back. The greatness is they will come back with a more fitness, more enthusiasm in the game. So never leave the world when you are fighting for a world class. It's really important. So Novak Djokovic, great champions can never be written off. Next article, decoding Trump's attack on Europe. Decoding Trump's attack on Europe. Decoding Trump's attack on Europe. Listen, Donald Trump attacked Angela Merkel, attacked Theresa May, attacked European countries, asked France to come out of European Union and said, if you come out of European Union, I will have a better deal with you. And the entire story is written by the author. I wish to tell you the entire story, the meaning of the story in the article. After the Second World War, two great powers existed in the world, USA and USSR. After the Second World War, two great powers existed in the world, USA and USSR, America and Soviet Russia. And after the Second World War, Europe was devastated. As you all know, In 18th century, 19th century, and even in the beginning of 20th century, the world is Eurocentric. Everything belongs to Europe. There is no history at all. What all history you read? America is a colony, India is a colony, Africa is a colony, Australia is a colony, and who occupied all these colonies? It is Europe. The world is Eurocentric. Europe is much advanced, much industrialized. But Second World War sounded a death knell to Europe. American hegemony in world politics started. American hegemony in world politics started. And 48% of world industrial capacity is controlled by America. 48% of world industrial capacity is controlled by America, and 70% of gold reserves are with America. 48% of world industrial capacity is with America, 70% of gold reserves are with America. And 1949, America and its friends, Western European countries, started NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And America started Marshall Plan, Truman Doctrine. Marshall Plan, Truman Doctrine. Marshall Plan, monetary support to the countries to dismantle communism. So, inducting money into the countries and destabilizing the communist ideas. Truman Doctrine, not only monetary support but also military support. So, America started Marshall Plan, Truman Doctrine to spread capitalism and to end communism. And all the mechanisms served America's interest. NATO, Marshall Plan, Truman Doctrine, and Britain, France, all these countries are the part of NATO. And they tore the lines of America. They tore the lines of America. And America needs stable Europe. You know why? Economic integration of Europe and strengthening of NATO, all these things serves world trade and American interest. World trade is very important. If the Europe is weak, world trade will be lost. If the European economy is not strong, there is no world trade. So America wanted to stabilize Europe. America wanted to integrate Europe. America wanted to have friendship with North European countries. So this all happened within American interest, and America grew. American domination continued. And finally in 1991, Soviet Russia got disintegrated. In 1991, Soviet Russia got disintegrated. And 4 years back, as you all know, Russian Empire and Soviet Russia have Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine. In Ukraine there is a portion called Crimea. In Ukraine there is a portion called Crimea, Crimea. In Ukraine there is a portion called Crimea, and Russia occupied Crimea. 4 years back, Russia occupied Crimea, which is a part of Ukraine. And Russia was suspended from G7. It was G8, now it became G7, Group 7. After Russia occupying Crimea, Russia was suspended. Russia was suspended. And America, Europe, they all dominated the world. And particularly after the Second World War, America dominated the world. And you should listen a point here. When the African countries, Middle East countries are unstable, it affects the world stability. When the African countries and Middle East countries are unstable, it affects the countries, Europe, America. For example, if there is no peace in Africa, peace in Middle East, all refugees will go to Europe. First develop Africa and Middle East, give some funds to them, automatically refugees will not come there, automatically instability, terrorism problems will not exist. So all these things. Finally, Donald Trump's comments on Europe, on Angela Merkel, Theresa May, and his invitation to Emmanuel Macron are all misleading. They are all misleading. Trump is notorious for erratic comments, eccentric attitudes. From the beginning he is doing this. Okay, don't worry about his misadventures. Just read the articles and leave it. Okay, done? Next important article, a review of Mandela's legacy. A review of Mandela's legacy. As Martin Luther King Jr. told, if a man has not discovered something he will die for, he is not fit to live. If a man has not discovered something he will die for, he is not fit to live. So you should have a reason to live. You should have a reason to work hard, and without that reason you are not fit to live. Who told this? If a man does not find a thing for which he can die for, he is not fit to live. Martin Luther King Jr. Very important quote, even in ethics. Quote, you can use it. And Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela, you all know, freedom fighter in South Africa, fought against apartheid. Apartheid means racism, and he is a famous person in African National Congress, ANC, and he expanded the domain of politics. Politics in terms of empathy, understanding others, sensitivity towards others. Politics in terms of forgiveness. Politics in terms of values. Politics in terms of empathy. Politics in terms of forgiveness. Politics in terms of values. Really important. And violence is incapable of speech. Violence is incapable of speech. Freedom cannot be speechless. Violence, if you use violence, you cannot speak properly. And in this article, many instances were written on Mandela's life about boycott, bus boycott in 1940, about his association with Walter Sisulu. Walter Sisulu is a very famous man in apartheid movement. Walter Sisulu, WALTER SISULU, and his marriage with Winnie Mandela and Subway Massacre. Many movements were written, but this article is important for Nelson Mandela. And here Nelson Mandela's autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. Very important book, Nelson Mandela's autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. Remember this. This might be a question even in the interview. What is the autobiography of Nelson Mandela? Long Walk to Freedom. And there is an interview with Nisha Biswal. Nisha Biswal. India-US business. India-US business. Kindly read this interview. Kindly read this interview. Okay, done. Apart from that, there is one more thing which is in the news today in the newspaper also. The article is in page number 7 of Hindu. Page number 7. Page number 7 of Hindu. Page number 7 of Hindu. Very important article. Activists oppose draft anti-trafficking bill. Activists oppose draft anti-trafficking bill. Trafficking is a wider perspective, wider word. Article 23 of the Indian Constitution prohibits human trafficking, which also includes prostitution. Article 23 of the Indian Constitution prohibits human trafficking, which also includes prostitution. By March 2018, Cabinet cleared this bill. Now it was introduced. The bill provides stringent punishment for trafficking, more strong punishments for trafficking, and proposes decentralized rehabilitation and investigation framework. Decentralized rehabilitation and investigation framework from national level to district level. From national level to district level. But the pathetic thing is, 77% of the trafficked women who were brought to rehabilitation homes went back again to prostitution after the release from rehabilitation homes. You got the point? The women who were brought to rehabilitation homes, who were rescued from trafficking, again they went back to prostitution. The problem of human trafficking is not just a social problem, it is an economic problem. Unless you empower women, unless you create livelihood to them, any amount of rehabilitation, any measure of strict punishment will not work out. And the bill also have some strict penal provisions. Those who transmit AIDS or who transmit some injections which are very furious and hormonal injections, all these things. But will it solve the problem is a question. Will it solve the problem is a very big question. Kindly read in the internet, already the bill is in the PRS and already Sonia Gandhi on the bill. The MP Shashi Tharoor wrote a letter to Sonia Gandhi on the bill on anti-trafficking bill. Kindly read about that anti-trafficking bill. Okay, these are the important current affairs today.